All right, happy Monday night, everybody. Welcome on into Raiderland World Headquarters. Hope you're having a great day. We are having a great day. Glad you're with us this evening. It's Good, Bad, and Ugly Monday recap. You're going to get in on the United Supermarkets chat line. Here's the T-shirt of the day. Hold on. There we go. A little Binion's horseshoe action going on. Yeah, old school Vegas. Tonight we've got massive injury news for Texas Tech. Not good news on the offensive side of the ball. How big will the impact be of the injury? The Big Ten wants 52 teams in the college football playoff. Anybody agree with them? And then we have Dallas Cowboys talk for our Dallas Cowboys friends. RJ Ochoa from Blogging the Boys. He's going to join us tonight about 6:50. So we're going to talk about the Cowboys over under 8.5 wins. Which side are you on and why? A lot of different things going on tonight. That's why we're glad you're here with us, hanging out in Raiderland World Headquarters. And I know what you're doing right now. The early arrivals. You're giving us thumbs up, hearts, letting us know the audio is good, the video is good. You're sharing it with folks on our YouTube channel for Ryan Hyatt's Raiderland, on Twitter X at Ryan Hyatt Media, and on Facebook. Again, Ryan Hyatt's Raiderland. All platforms free all the time. Subscribe to them all. Don't miss a thing. See, James is right there in it. In 3, in 2. Good evening, West Texans, all you good, fine, friendly folks out there who wish you were. I'm Ryan Hyatt, theraiderland.com. You start your day there every day. Get your question of the day, what we're thinking in the morning, and the awesome, incredible Raiderland hot links, the coolest stuff from around the internet that you don't know, that you didn't need, you needed to know, but now you know thanks to us. Brought to you by, in all the transmissions tonight, coming and going, United Supermarkets, the one grocery store that supports Texas Tech in West Texas versus the one that takes your money and sends it elsewhere. That's right, tortilla fans, tortilla lovers unite. You know, they got you taken care of there at United Supermarkets, Market Street. Also tonight, we welcome in a wonderful new partner here in Raiderland, Live Life Well Clinic. Dr. John Skelton has created a unique, really cool place here in Lubbock that's ready to go to work for you. Guys, get healthy before you're unhealthy. It is a totally different experience. He's a former Texas Tech walk-on football player. Check out the site, Live Life Well, here in Lubbock. They want to assist you. They want to help you reach, create the life that God has intended you to enjoy. So we welcome in to Live Life Well. You got a lot of cool stuff going on. Check out their Facebook page, their website. Get healthy before you're unhealthy. Guys, I know we get to a certain age, you know, and it ain't easy. It ain't easy staying healthy. We're looking for answers. And you go searching for answers, and some of them don't work. Well, maybe you're missing some of the easy stuff. They're here to help you at Live Life Well Clinic. Also brought to you by, and in part, our friends at Ninja Pest Control. That's right. Ninjas hate pest. They deplore pest in Lubbock, Texas. The name of the company should not be Ninja Pest Control. It should be Ninjas Killing Pest. We're working with them on that. But yeah, so if you want to kill a bunch of bugs, you call our friends at Ninja Pest Control. All right, let's get it going. I want to get your thoughts, your comments, and everything in between tonight here on the United Supermarkets chat line. The biggest story of the day is what has been released, first reported by On3.com, Pete Nakos, regarding Texas Tech running back Quentin Joyner, the much ballyhooed, high-level, and really good running back coming out of USC to Texas Tech. Really, I believe, the leader of the running back room that Joey McGuire had characterized as we're going to run back by committee. Okay. There was still going to be a lead dog, and we believe the lead dog was going to be Quentin Joyner. He showed so much last year, and all the reports were good. So apparently a torn ACL. Today on the What's Next podcast released by Texas Tech, hosted by Robert Giovannetti, TexasTech.com. Go to the 843 marker thereabouts. You find out Quentin Joyner, torn ACL, Joey McGuire, non-contact, hate it so much for him, how well he's done. He's been a pro. He's been doing all the things we wanted, everything you can imagine, and looks like he's going to be out for an extended period of time, no doubt. Joey McGuire again, sick to my stomach, hate all that. Um, and he was one of the first ones, and Joey McGuire talked about this, to jump into the portal, to really, come in and get into Texas Tech. I don't know what his NIL valuation was or anything else. I know he was probably doing pretty well on that. We hate to see it. So there's now the domino effect. And this was one of the biggest reasons why I was, high on Texas Tech being over 8.5 wins. And we're going to do our over under win total later on this week. But one of the biggest reasons was Quentin Joyner, was what they wanted to do with new offensive coordinator. And I know you ran the ball a lot last year, but you were going to run it differently this year. You were going to do different things this year running the football. Without Joyner, how much does that change? The other thing that changes is the domino effect of you go from a 3 to a 2-man room that you feel comfortable with. And I know you've got Adam Hill, the kid out of Albany. I think he won, two high school championships down there with the Albany Lions. I think he was part of the back-to-back, pretty sure on that. But now you drop down, and it's a little bit different when you look at that running back room with Jacoby Williams and Cam Dickey. And Williams was going to be on special teams, featured a lot. I think you've got to pull him off special teams now. You can't afford to have him out there. So now your special teams got worse. Cam Dickey and Williams, a nice little 1-2 punch. They were with you last year. You saw them in the bowl game. However, there was a reason they went out and got Quentin Joyner. So now how big of an impact do you think that is? You tell us tonight. JC gets in on our YouTube channel, Ryan Hyatt's Raiderland on YouTube. Don't cost nothing. You ought to subscribe there. Everybody on YouTube, hey, share it. Get a little thumbs up on it. Greetings and happy birthday. Thank you. I had a great birthday weekend. KP will have some shuffling in the kick game. Move over a receiver for just in case. I think that's the biggest thing right now. Not the biggest thing, but yeah, it does take away what you thought was going to be like a featured big-time breakaway kick returner. Maybe you don't have that now. And that has always been one of the biggest differences in college football between elite, great, and good teams. The guys that you had so much talent stacked up that they couldn't get on the field any other way than special teams. The teams like OU or Texas or, whoever back in the day, fill in the blank, Nebraska, that they had amazing kick returners. They had amazing players on special teams. Punt coverage, kick coverage, everything else. They didn't have to play starters because they were stacked that deep. Well, you were kind of trying to do that this year. This hurts you in that aspect. So, yeah, big loss, Quentin Joyner. They talked about it today. You tell us what you think the impact is going to be. If you want to get into the Big Ten playoff idea for 28 teams, we can. Even I think that's a bridge too far, and I am all for 16 teams in the college football playoff. Like 43% of the NFL teams make the playoff. I think we can have 16 in the college football game. It's not going to kill anything. I'll do a commentary on that tomorrow as we bring back 60 seconds of Raiderland for the football season. But jump in, tell us your thoughts on what's going on now. Massive loss, in my opinion, for Texas Tech football with Quentin Joyner. All credit on 3, Pete Nakos, first to report it, confirmed by Texas Tech on their own podcast, which is called, ironically enough, What's Next? Paul gets in. Paul has a lot to say on Facebook, Ryan Hyatt's Raiderland. I miss the social interaction from the days of the Southwest Conference. Students from one school would travel to away games and crash at any high school friend's place. Can confirm, 1990, College Station. Thank you very much, Clifton Green. One exception was when I went to Austin, was couching at my fraternity house. It was about 1967 in Tech Upset, Texas. Slept in my car that night. Thank you, by the way, Field Scoville and the Red Raiders there with JT King. 16-7 or something like that. Scoville about 200 yards, 187, something like that. running the triple I option. And the worst thing that Texas Tech ever did to the Southwest Conference was beat Texas in that game, because Darrell Royal uses that as the impetus to push to what would become the wishbone. Thank you, Mickey Herskowitz, down at the Houston Chronicle, for naming it. But the triple option that JT King ran with John Scoville and beat Texas is what sent Texas to do that. I hate that. I mean, would we have been better off if Tech had lost that game and then maybe come back? I don't know. I'm just kidding. All right. Chris talking about on Facebook, Ryan Hyatt's Raiderland. We do different things on Facebook. We add different things, like tonight on Facebook. If you're only following us on YouTube, you're going to miss out on the daily dose of West Texas and our picture of the day. You're going to miss that. You're going to miss all sorts of cool stuff. It's huge. Depth is perilous at running back. Dinged up takes on a new meaning. Well, dinged up, he's done. He's gone. Quentin Joyner. In the sad reality, and I'll go ahead and broach the subject, I don't know that he'll ever play for Texas Tech. That in this day and age of NIL, one-year deals, one-year contracts, you're not bound by a scholarship. You're not bound by anything. And you're certainly not bound by an NFL contract the way the league would be if a guy got hurt, to say, okay, rehab, we'll pay for your rehab. We'll bring you back. We'll get you back. You can come back maybe, sometime later on. And those days for the players are gone. The pernicious aspect of the NIL world may very well be seen here for Quentin Joyner. And I don't mind talking about it. It's reality that it becomes very easy for a school to say, hey, thanks. We gave you your NIL deal. I'm going to assume he was around six figures. I don't have a breakdown in front of me from On3 or anything else. I'm going to assume you leave USC, you come to Texas Tech. You're at a running back position. Let's just say north or south of six. All right. You get hurt. Good luck to you. Thanks for playing. The harsh reality of now for the players, which is why I found the players, they don't necessarily want a CBA, but that's the downside protection that a collectively bargained agreement gets you if you're unionized and as a paid employee. This time, I think the school should be wanting absolutely union and CBA, because you can control cost with the salary cap. This time they get away with it. It helps. So yeah, Chris jumps in, gets his comment in on that. So big loss for Texas Tech. Texas Tech confirming what On3 reported earlier today. Quentin Joyner out for the year, torn ACL. Suffered today, this weekend. Coming up here in just a little bit, about 8 minutes out, he is the managing editor. He is the founder of the Feast. RJ Ochoa, blogging the boys, going to join us, talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, there's so much going on in Jerry world all the time, and certainly in training camp, where it's not about getting better or playing Dak Prescott or doing anything or signing Micha Parsons. It's about keeping your name in the papers. But remember, he's really smart. That's why he's done so well over the last 3 decades in the NFL. Playoff structure, 16 teams is great. That's what I want. The Big Ten, why would they want to go to 28? And even like the SEC and other people are looking at the Big Ten leadership going, 28, really? 24, 28? You want to do a 7-7 guarantee, 4 after that for the ACC, Big 12, and some? What are you, nuts? And I'm all for having more teams in the playoff. And I disagree with those who say the playoff diminishes the value of the regular season, because it certainly doesn't do that in the NFL, where damn near 50% get in, but everybody's going to watch week 1 games, right? And you would think with 18 games in a regular season, or 17 games in a regular season, that it wouldn't matter, week 1, but everybody's going to watch. So why do they watch? It's going to diminish. You get the idea. Yeah, 28. And all they're doing, obviously, is trying to ensure more Big Ten teams And by throwing it out there and putting the SEC in there with their 7 automatics, going, yeah, you guys are going to come along with us, right? We're going to do this. No, 16 teams the number right now. Until we can get rid of the NCAA and go to our 64-72 Super League, and then we can do it proportionally based on what the NFL does, I believe, because you're going to coalesce the wealth. You're going to bring the floor up, you're going to bring the ceiling down, and you're going to have a better chance of more competitive teams top to bottom when we do that. But we got to get out of the NCAA. You guys are all in agreement on that, right? We got to leave the NCAA. No more major college football being hemmed up by what St. Mary's thinks, IUPI. We got to get out of there, and we can do it. It's not hard. It's just they've got to do what they did a couple of years ago with the BCS, and then the playoff and everything else, and then the university chancellors and the presidents and the boards of regents. There we go again. We're missing out on how much money? There's another comma out there that our school can get, and it's legal. So we'll get there. The biggest news, if you're just joining us now, and if you are, you can get it on the United Supermarkets chat line. I'm there almost every day at United Supermarkets doing my parts to support Texas Tech and West Texas and picking up things I forgot to get and everything we need, when we get home. But yesterday, holy cow, the weekend meat ad specials, please. You're killing me on that. Thank you, United Supermarkets. But beyond that, they got just about everything you can imagine. What did I get the other day that I couldn't believe they had? Oh, yeah. Just all sorts of random stuff. And they support Texas Tech. So Quentin Joyner done for the year. And it would be real easy at this point to say the RB1, running back 1. I believe he is. I believe he was. I believe all the talk about committee would be like the book Animal Farm. All the animals are equal, just some are more equal than others. You didn't bring him in there to not have a huge impact. The domino effect now with Jacoby Williams, I think he's got to move off special teams. That hurts you there. And an offensive coordinator who wants to run the ball, needs to run the ball. And a quarterback who I believe needs an efficient, effective running game to keep him upright. All of those things are not good. All right, Mark jumps in on the United Supermarkets Market Street chat line. Is there a James Hadnot on the team? Well, my God, James, I believe he passed away, but also he'd be in his 70s. Like on the 78 team. No, there is no Kong. There is no tight end / running back / anything like that. James Hadnot was a one of a kind, had a nice little NFL career, and he had one of the greatest quotes ever created by Grant Taft, who in 78, when Texas Tech moved him from tight end to running back, had the preseason quote, I believe James Hadnot is the greatest tight end in the Southwest Conference, and I wish they'd leave him there. Yeah, there's no Hadnot in the wings. There's nothing like that you've got. I know you've got several tight ends, but none of them could do what you're talking about James Hadnot doing in 77, 78. Michael is on our YouTube channel, Ryan Hyatt's Raiderland. Everybody hit like, thank you, and share it. I heard this weekend RJ Ochoa thinks the Cowboys will end up ahead of Washington. Well, we'll ask him. How could the Cowboys end up ahead of Washington? Well, a lot of different reasons. One, if the Cowboys are healthy, if the run game is better, if the offensive line is better than I think, if Mingo is not hurt as bad as we think, and if the Redskins regress, and if there is a team in the NFL that is due massive regression this year, it would be the Washington Redskins. Pardon me, the Commodores. They won so many games that you go in the NFL, that's luck. That's a freak deal. Do they regress? Do they regress with a second-year quarterback? The bigger question, does Philadelphia regress? And we all know nobody's won the NFC East 2 years in a row in 20 years. JC is on our YouTube channel. Big Ten Commish Sounds like he got whipped by media sales guy, probably an old radio program manager. There's a lot of funny things in that little. Is that 2 sentences? That's 2 good sentences. Yeah, absolutely. We'll go to 28 teams. We'll get 7 in. We'll get 7 in. They'll get 7 in, and some of the other conferences will get a couple in. And we'll let who the hell's in the other conference? Stephen F. Austin. We'll let Stephen F. Austin. It'll be great. And then at 28, we're going to go to 42 teams. It's going to be awesome. Trust us. All right. It is my pleasure to welcome onto the program for the first time a guy we have enjoyed his writings. It's fun to watch, and I have thoroughly 100% enjoyed listening to his segments on VSiN, the Vegas Stats and Information Network. He is RJ Ochoa. He is the, I believe, the managing editor, the grand poobah at Blogging the Boys. Notice, RJ, I said Blogging the Boys and not anything else like Tim Murray. Glad to have you on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, a lot of people say blogging with the boys. It's one of those semantic things, doesn't bother me, but technically you are correct. It's blogging the boys. And so, if you're establishing our SEO language, that's what we're going for, I guess.
What we got to do. I also, years ago, back in the 1990s, I was the managing editor for a magazine, a sports magazine. And you know what I learned that title means? You do all the work, everything. So congratulations.
Thanks. I'm inordinately blessed to do what I do. It never feels like work. I've got an incredible wife who's super supportive of that, an incredibly understanding 3-year-old, and 2 dogs who have to be put outside or else they'd be on every radio show and podcast appearance that I make.
My goodness, I think we may be living the same life, although I may have your wife talk to mine about being incredibly supportive about different things. Covering the circus that is the Dallas Cowboys. And I love your ability to discern the goofiness and the reality of Dallas Cowboy football, because those are almost 2 different worlds that we have to analyze with the Cowboys versus most NFL teams. So we'll look at this year's camp, and the dominant headline, obviously, Micha Parsons. And I believe you tweeted out today, we were 17 days in from trade me, 17 days out from pay me or play me. That's been the dominant story. Why is it different this year? And we've seen a lot of people use that term, that this holdout, this whatever negotiation is different. Is it different on just Parsons' side, or is it different on Jerry's side too?
So today is hump day relative to his trade request. Like you said, 17 days ago was when he first issued it, and they kick off the season 17 days from now in Philadelphia. And I think the existence of the request in and of itself makes it different. Things never technically reached that point with Dak Prescott either time or with CeeDee Lamb. No. And I think that, I know I use this as a crutch. I'm not trying to accuse anybody else of this, but we say that it's different because Micha's more vocal. Micha is more opportunistic. Micha has other, properties going on, like his podcast, his show at Bleacher Report. And I feel kind of ironic or somewhat fraudulent even saying that, because it's not like he's been running episodes, you know what I mean? Like for the last 17 days or anything like that. If you care about that kind of stuff, he's been a good soldier. He has showed up. He has, taken care of himself the way that he sees fit. But I would say that it feels different because the other 2 happened. Dak Prescott multiple times over. I've said many times that Micha began this whole negotiation with the court of public opinion well behind him in a way that neither Dak nor CeeDee did. And some of that for Dak is that he's the quarterback of the Cowboys, and there's obviously going to be a level of divisiveness that exists no matter how good you are. CeeDee held out, and that, that wakes up some people. That gets the boomers, kind of going like, you need to show up, you need to do your job. Micha has handled this very well. He got ahead of the curve back in December, said, I don't need to be the highest paid defensive player. I don't need $40 million per year. I didn't personally buy that, but it may have been a wise thing to say, from his representation standpoint, knowing the way the Cowboys drag these things out, and that Myles Garrett was around the bend, Max Crosby, TJ Watt. And I would add, just to kind of close this thought, that that's part of what makes it different is his representation, is that this is inarguably the most powerful individual agent in the game. And so powerful, in fact, that he's gotten in Jerry Jones's mind rent free in terms of saying, I don't even know his name, and refusing to negotiate with him. And so those circumstances, those details and those variables have kind of twisted this in a way that, we haven't really seen in modern history with this team.
I try to look at these negotiations all the time with Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is the most logical. With Jerry Jones, that's, can I generate headlines? Can I get people to pay attention in the off season? I'm going to get the deal done, and I'm going to overpay, whatever we want to say that. Is that still where we are with Jerry Jones right now? Is that the simplest explanation?
It is very simple, right? Like it's a pet peeve of mine is when people present theories that are inordinately popular, but they present them as their own unique thing. Like, I'm telling you, I just think that the Cowboys are doing this for attention. Yeah, I know. We all think that.
Yeah.
That would be very sad, and that would be very small. And a lot of people have also pontificated that maybe it's been in advance of the Netflix special that drops tomorrow. And so if we get to Wednesday as an example and there's still no deal, out goes that theory.
Right.
I honestly struggle with those theories now, because you get people who say things like, well, they're just incompetent. They're just really bad at this. And my response to that is, no one could be this bad at this. Like no one with a, I mean, and I know that sounds funny, but no one with a computer or a basic understanding of just life could be this bad at this, especially after the experiences that they've had. And in fact, Stephen Jones is on record in an interview with Mike Florio several years ago. He said that one of their biggest mistakes was not paying Dak Prescott earlier. And so I think that to say something like they're doing it for attention or whatever is giving them too much of a pass. I think this is just Sinatra style. I think this is just the way they want to do it. And they'll get it done when they feel like it. And whatever happens, whatever consequences, befall them in the process, so what? It's not like they're getting fired. I think that where we struggle as human beings with this is we're trying to logically answer this some way, but we simply cannot, because it's a situation void of it.
I have watched and covered every day of the Jerry Jones era, and when you talk about trying to deal with that as human beings and logic, yes, I've broken myself against that rock for over 3 decades now. We've got RJ Ochoa on with us right now, blogging the boys, talking Dallas Cowboys. Let's fast forward a couple of weeks. The deal gets done. He's on the field. Now we look at this team as it's constructed, with some injuries, offensive line, trying to revamp a running game. Dak Prescott that you hope is able to be upright for 14, 16, 17 games. Over under 8.5 wins. And I've heard your discussion on VSiN, and I think it's very valid. So if we establish that as the over under, argue for me why it's over and why it's under.
I think the under is that since they lost to the Green Bay Packers in the wild card round last year, this front office has consciously and willfully sabotaged the team. And that Dak Prescott is from that point in time, 1.5 years older, that it's a first-time head coach who nobody ever really expressed any interest in having be their head coach, that there is no run game, and that it's really just CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. And even if Mike is on the field, he missed all of training camp and all the on-field work. And so he's probably going to suffer the way that CeeDee Lamb did last year. That's the under. And I guess you could also sprinkle in that, the Eagles are reigning Super Bowl champions, that Washington turned a corner, and that maybe Jackson Dart is finally the prince that was promised for the Giants. The over, though, for me is, you mentioned the VSiN appearances. I love this stat. It means nothing, but it's that, and this isn't Dak Prescott, but Tony Romo never once played a game where he was mathematically eliminated from playoff contention. And that means absolutely nothing. I'm not suggesting, we build a statue. But what it does tell you, if you're in on betting, lines and things like that, is that they never finished really below 8 wins. Obviously, the joke was 8-8 all 3 years in a row from 2011 through 13. And I should mention that Romo was lost for the season on 2 occasions and was lost early enough that this statistic still holds true. But that's who they've been. I mean, they do not bottom out. Their worst season in the Dak Prescott era, from a quantitative standpoint, they have never won the Super Bowl. I'm totally with everyone on that. Was finishing 9-7 in 2017. Like, that was their worst season. And granted, pre-17 games in a regular season, but still won 9 games. Last year, Dak Prescott missed over half of the season and they still won 7 games. And they've added George Pickens. And again, you would assume, even if you're Dak's biggest critic, that he would be good for 2 more wins on top of that. So they have a number of warts and a number of demerits. And I've got, drawers full of them if you want to go through the Rolodex. But they're not a team that is out of the mix while you're doing your Christmas shopping. That's simply not who they are. So 8.5, it's grown. It started at 7.5 when the schedule first came out. And I thought that was when I was all over it. But 8.5 is still pretty easy money to me. I think they're somewhere between a 9 and 11 win team, depending on, what way the oblong ball breaks on a given week.
Well, you just went into something that I think interlocks every NFL team that's not like a clear division winner or a conference champion contender, and that's the regression or progression of the teams around you. And it seems like to me the Cowboys are not necessarily held hostage by that this year. Just look at your own division. Okay, we don't think Philadelphia is going to drop down that much. Washington, though, how many games did they win fluke? How many games, is there a regression there? Go look at Chicago that people like, or even Minnesota. That there are so many teams that are going to be around Dallas, I think, in that wild card aspect, that matters too when you start looking at the Cowboys' chances to get into the postseason.
Yeah, you mentioned, and I'm with you, that it would be silly to doubt Philadelphia, but relative to getting into the playoffs, and the surest path to doing so is winning your division. And even though the Eagles just won the Super Bowl and are incredibly mighty, nobody has won the NFC East in consecutive years since they did it over 20 years ago. And that means absolutely nothing, but it's also enough time that it kind of gives you pause, and it kind of makes you say, like, well, this is if this was like a 5-year streak,
there's something there, whatever it is organizationally through the division.
Exactly. It's at the very least, it's a strange run of coincidence that, we're about to hit Super Bowl 60, and this is over 20 years old. So you're talking about over a third of the Super Bowl era at this point. You mentioned Washington, and a key, kind of note when you talk regression to the mean is, how did this team do in 1-score games last year? Because it is a game where sometimes the break goes your way. Sometimes your dude catches the tip ball in the end zone for the Hail Mary that beats the Chicago Bears. They were 8-1. Washington was in 1-possession games last year. And no one, is saying that you have to regress to the other end of the spectrum. But even if you regress to the mean, even if you just regress to average, you're now dropping 3 or 4 of those games, and all of a sudden life is very different for you, and you're not winning the division. You're not a wild card contender. And I should mention that even this Washington team lost to the Cooper Rush-led Dallas Cowboys at home. So that is not I know it sounds silly, and again, I'm not a Dallas Cowboys apologist by any stretch, but the NFC East games don't particularly scare me, especially in the Dak Prescott era. He has basically never lost to the New York Giants, and if any team's given him trouble, it is Washington. But we've had a weird run, speaking of coincidences, with the Eagles, where either Dak has missed the game or Jalen Hurts or somebody.
Yeah, very rarely do you have 1-versus-1 talent.
Right. But when Dak has played them, regardless of who the opposing quarterback is, he's 7-3. And so I kind of, I trust the division to work itself out. It's these wonky, intra-conference games that tend to be their bugaboo. But I certainly think, again, if they're winning somewhere between 9 and 11 games, to your point, it depends on the environment around them. If Philadelphia falls really far down for their standards, if Washington kind of, has the clock hit midnight and falls back into a pumpkin and whatnot, winning the division is not out of the question. I would say they're the second most likely team to do so, behind the Eagles, for obvious reasons.
Fair or not, a month and a half, 6 weeks in, 5 games in, whatever, with this schedule for the Dallas Cowboys, will we know who they are and what they're going to be?
So you mentioned a month and a half or 5 weeks. We can kind of say right past the Ryder Cup, which is the end of week 4. And so that's, I don't like this for any team, to be clear, but they start with 2 divisional games. The first one, obviously, on the road. Those games are just so important. I think it's silly to stack them like that. But then you get the Bears, who are a new look team. And Ben Johnson clearly has some sort of personal vendetta against the Cowboys based on the way we saw the Lions play them last year. And then the Packers, who knows if you think they're going to trade for Micha Parsons or something. But and then the Jets, who I think will be improved, but are at least that's your tomato can within those first 5 games. Yeah. I would say a lot of it would depend on the context for me. And that's always true. Like, if they lost to the Eagles, how did they lose? Did they lose on a last second field goal? Did they lose because Philly just pulled off a tush push on 4th and short that they just couldn't stop? Or did they get their doors blown off 40-0? Is one of these losses to the ho-hum Giants? Did they smash the Ben Johnson Bears for one or two of their wins? So a lot of it depends on the contextual nature of it for me, but I generally do think that by mid-October, by the time that Major League Baseball's playoffs are starting, you pretty much know if you're for real or if you're not.
I agree with you on that, and where we will be fairly early on with the Cowboys. I've already busted our time frame by about 4 minutes. I'm only going to ask you one more question. I appreciate you being on. What went so wrong in your life that you got involved in the media, got involved in this business, doing what you're doing, and why you do what you do? Because I know what happened to me, but I want to know why do you love doing what you do? Because you do have a passion, it comes through, and I enjoy seeing it.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I love the Cowboys. I mean, I really do, which is why I think I'm so critical of them. I think it comes from a place of love. It's something that I share with my dad. My dad's my best friend, and this, I know that's a really common story. And I just reached a point early in life, early in education, where I didn't want to do anything else. And this was kind of circa 2011, 2012. And I'm an only child, and I had a discussion with my parents, and they said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I just really love the Cowboys. And that was a really, kind of absurd thing to say to your parents as a young 20 something. But thankfully they're incredibly supportive of me, and, just helped me while I tried to find my way and I started blogging, started podcasting, started, just being active on social media and connecting with who I could. I was very fortunate in 2016 to win a radio contest in San Antonio, kind of an open mic thing that really opened some doors for me. So I'm eternally grateful to Jason Minix and Rob Thompson and David Chancellor and Ari Temkin and Chris Hall. And that happened to be, 2016, the rookie year for Dak Prescott and Zeke Elliott. And also happened to be the year that the Super Bowl was in Houston. And you know how this world works. They said, look, we can't pay for you to be here, but if you can come be some extra hands. I had family in Houston. It was a drivable distance for me. So God has really worked in my life and just kind of had things line up for me exactly when I've needed them. And I've been fortunate that enough people have supported me along the way and said yes and said no at the right and opportune times. And so I just, I'm not working on the railroad. You know what I mean? Like, life could be much worse. I'm barefoot most days. So it's a lot of fun. And there are some making the sausage parts of it that you kind of get exposed to along the way. And not every profession or career is perfect, but damn it, I would not trade with anybody. I can promise you that.
That is awesome. I love that story. And all right, so tell people, more about Blogging the Boys, how they can find you, the different ways they can access you on social media, and all those wonderful things. Do the hard sell.
I appreciate it. Bloggingtheboys.com is where you can access my work and that of the rest of our talented staff. We're SB Nation's Dallas Cowboys blog. We obviously have blogs for every NFL team and NBA team and everything under the sun. I'm on social media most places at RJ Ochoa. Somebody had that on TikTok, so I had to go with RJ.Ochoa. But I'm on the book, not the phone one, the Facebook, and I'm on LinkedIn. If you want to email me, rj.ochoa@sbnation.com. Odds are, if you are on a platform on the internet talking about the Dallas Cowboys, I have some sort of presence there. So I'm really excited that the football season's here, and I'm grateful to share it with people like you. The Cowboys probably won't win the Super Bowl this year, but I know that we're all going to have an incredible time watching them fail, and that's what matters the most.
Absolutely. All right, man. I thank you for your time. I hope we can steal some more of your time as the season goes along, okay?
Not stealing. You can have it anytime you want. Let me know. You got my number.
You got it, man. Be well. Thank you, RJ.
You too. Have a good one.
RJ Ochoa, everybody. Just fantastic stuff on the Dallas Cowboys. We will be having him back on. He's really good. Look for him when he's on VSIN, Vegas Stats and Information Network. And if they can't get me, I guess they just call RJ and do stuff like that. All right, we busted our time frame a little bit tonight, but that's okay. Tomorrow night on the show, John Kurtz, Big 12 commentator, Manhattan, Kansas. You will not want to miss that. It'll be Tuesday's best as well. We ask you to share this, put it out there on Twitter at Ryan Hyatt Media, on our YouTube channel, subscribe to that, and on our Facebook. We'll archive this here in just a few minutes on the website, theraiderland.com as well. Be with us in the morning on the site, theraiderland.com. So we're looking forward to hanging out with you guys on Twitter the rest of the night at Ryan Hyatt Media. Supper's coming up. Bolognese, anybody? A little bolognese? Oh, yeah. We heard it at the Bolognese. Thank you, RJ Ochoa, for being a part of it from Blog of the Boys. See you tomorrow, theraiderland.com. I got to hit another button. How many buttons do I got to hit?